Welcome to the JEMS Product Pod, brought to you by Clarion Events, Fire and Rescue Division, and the Journal of Emergency Medical Services. My name is Ted Lee, and I am the editor-in-chief of JEMS, along with Jeff Frankel, our managing editor. We will be bringing you technology, gear, and the latest in equipment servicing the pre-hospital medicine environment. And today we have a very special guest, EJ from Operative IQ. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
So why don't we start with a little bit of an introduction on who you are and where you're coming from as far as your relationship with emergency medical services.
Yeah, sure. So I am one of the founders of EMS Technology Solutions. Operative IQ is our flagship product. So we started this back in 2007. So for the last 17 years, I've been working with customers to solve operations problems for them. So, my background comes out of corporate America and education out of IT.
So for those who don't know much about Operative IQ or haven't heard about it, because this is the product pod, so people are looking specifically for tech and gear to help. What is Operative, or who is Operative IQ, and what is your angle on the management of emergency medical services?
Yeah, sure. So Operative IQ is a software as a service platform that's really been designed for EMS, fire, air medical, law enforcement, to help them gain control of their costs, their expenses, their maintenance requirements, and just overall their operations. So we have 6 different modules that we offer as kind of the core modules. So it begins with inventory and asset management. From there, we offered fleet maintenance. We do facility management, which was launched in July of this year. We do narcotics, chain of custody tracking. We do RFID tracking as well, which integrates with a lot of our modules. And we also have a service desk ticketing system that integrates with our modules.
So you mentioned the different modules, and some of them seem, pretty intuitive. Narcotics, control substance tracking, kind of self-explanatory for that. But for inventory and asset management or fleet maintenance, what specifically for those other modules would this platform address?
Yeah, so when we talk about inventory and asset management, that really is, if you think about your operation has a supply room of medications and supplies to treat patients, right? And that those supplies are distributed onto vehicles and onto stations as well. So when we talk about inventory management, we're talking about the purchasing of and the managing of distributed inventory across your operations. So if you can imagine, if you don't have a tool to manage that, it's hard to understand what you actually have, when it expires, what you need to replenish it. So inventory management kind of begins there. On the asset side, the equipment in EMS and fire is very expensive, right? So you've got to know where it is and track it. You've got to perform maintenance on it, keep records of it in case there's an incident. You want to be able to produce the records on that equipment as well. So it all comes together, and then you have your operations managers on the back end, and you have your crew members on the front end, right? Your field personnel. So we provide tools to both. We have a frontline application for the field people, and we have a back office application for the operations managers. So in the field, what we're talking about a lot of is inspection, record keeping, providing data back to the operations so that they can report on the accountability, the risk, the compliance, know what to order, when to order it, those types of things.
Right. So this, you can see the gray, so kind of old school. This was usually handled by one person who had to try to do everything. And this platform helps, like you said, bring the front side and the back side of the office together to help manage and mitigate some of the things. Because, we always run into issues of, wow, we had no idea that we were so short, or that we had an abundance of anything, or the typical, wow, we have a whole supply room getting ready to expire for XYZ, and weren't really prepared for that to happen.
Yeah, and believe it or not, there's still a lot of operations out there that run that way. And they haven't taken a step towards putting technology in place to help them solve those problems. So fortunate for us, more and more people are understanding that there's efficiencies and costs that they can mitigate, and they have tools in place to help their teams.
Right. So the other one you mentioned was fleet maintenance. Of course, trucks, the utilization, keeping trucks on the road, critical for any service. How does this platform assist with that for somebody that's not necessarily truck minded? If I go in, I check off the trucks in the morning and that's pretty much all I know. How does this help?
Yeah. So if you're checking the truck off in the morning, then you are reporting back to the fleet management tool anything that it needs. So whether it's damage to the vehicle or whether it's the mileage, which would trigger a scheduled maintenance. So those inspections feed the fleet maintenance system so that the fleet managers know what condition the vehicle is in and they can schedule in repairs. Or if it reaches the milestones, they know that they should perform their routine maintenance on the vehicle. So it connects the fleet manager with the actual people in the field is probably the key element of it. From there, a lot of our customers are moving forward with telematics, so vehicle connectivity that is basically providing them the mileage, the depth, the fuel efficiency of the vehicle. So that triggers other alerts in our system that also trigger maintenance. So it's getting that done, to your point, to keep that vehicle on the road. I think when you look at ambulances, a lot of people are surprised that some of them have 1, 2, 300,000 miles on them.
Right.
They are very well serviced and maintained vehicles, and that comes at a cost to you if they're not, right. If that vehicle goes down, that's one of your biggest assets. So it's really critical they keep those on the road.
Well, some services have the luxury, of having fleets and reserve fleets, but some are really shoestring to where they might have one backup, and if that backup is broken, they're relying on their frontline fleet, and that's it. So having something to your point about triggering alerts about, hey, this is up for a maintenance. This is, something that seems to be out of the parameters of what we would like to really, keep these things operating at their top possibilities.
Yeah, the truck behind me has 286,000 miles on it. So,
not uncommon, not uncommon
well
for
serviced.
sure. So you mentioned service desk. That seems kind of a general term. What would fall under the auspice of service desk?
Yeah, so our service desk tool connects into all of our modules as well. So we stand up departments. So you could have an IT department, you could have a facilities manager department, you could have a fleet management department, you could have them for different stations in your operations. So what it allows your crew members to do is report issues. So if I'm talking about facilities, I could report an issue with a facility, and then that creates a work order, if you will, a ticket for somebody to handle it. Same with fleet, same with just a general department that you may create, right? So the idea is you're connecting your crew members so that they can report issues into a team that handles those issues. Because what we found is when you don't have a way to report issues, what do? You go to your manager, or you go to somebody and you complain. Hey, this is broken, this is not working. And they say, okay, and it never gets fixed. And then crew members complain that, hey, nothing ever gets fixed. So they stop fixing things and the operation deteriorates. So our customers use it for a lot of different things. But the cool thing about it is if you have other modules, it actually connects those modules as well. So you can take a service desk ticket and convert it into a fleet maintenance work order.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, there's so much, like we mentioned before, that a lot of times this is a one person thing, or, somebody brings up a concern to their shift supervisor, but then the next 2 days or 3 days, that shift supervisor is off. And then, whether it gets addressed as promptly as it could, not necessarily. So this definitely helps wrap those things up. And then I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it helps employee morale too, right? When they bring something to your attention and it gets handled, they feel like you care.
Yeah.
If they bring it to your attention and it never gets handled, then they're going to be less likely to bring the next thing to your attention because why bother you if you're not going to take care of it?
Right, right. So, and then last, facilities management. You touched on this a little bit with the last item.
Yeah, so facilities we launched in July. So yeah, the buildings that you own, and fire departments. I think Cobb County here has 30 plus fire stations. I mean, it's very common that our customers have multiple locations. They're huge assets, right? So you got to keep the records on the maintenance of those things. You've got to do inspections of those, verify the equipment's in the buildings that you think's in the buildings. Keep contacts. So if you have a HVAC problem, somebody knows who to call, right? So the facility piece is really about all the record keeping for the facility in one place. And like I said, you can connect it to service desk as well. All the assets in your facility, you can record their maintenance as well in the system so that you can keep all those records.
Yeah, we just had a news article today about an organization that was able to get a grant for like $5 million for a single building. So when you talk about assets and the expense of those, keeping up with them and making sure that they're in tip-top condition, I can't imagine something more important than a $5 million building,
Right.
keeping up to date with what's required for it.
Yeah, or $5 million buildings.
Right. Or 30, depending on the organization that you work for.
But they need those locations, right? They got to serve a
Yeah.
community. So
Right.
To have all that information in one place for somebody to come in and review it and understand what needs to be done there is pretty critical.
So with these 5 items, you mentioned RFID. So is that some of the newest technology being used to help keep track of equipment and facilities?
Yeah, so RFID for us, we have it as an add-on to the system, right? So Operative IQ is very configurable, right? Your needs are probably different than your neighbor's needs. So we wanted to make sure our application scales based on the operations needs. So a lot of our customers, it's probably the biggest growing segment right now is RFID. So they're using it to tag their assets. They're putting RFID on their vehicles to track that the assets are on the vehicle when it leaves, that the assets are on the vehicle when it returns, so nothing's left behind on the scene. Last year we rolled out an RFID smart shelf, which allows you to build a smart room. So my supply room here is all smart shelves. I haven't counted that room in over a year. That room counts itself all day long, every day, and post updates. So we can tell you down to the last minute what we have on our shelves, and we don't ever have to guess. So when the inventory comes in, it's tagged, it's shelved, and we know what we have. So there's lots of use cases for RFID. We have narcotic safes with RFID in them so that people can monitor the drugs in the safe to make sure that everything is in there and quickly do audits on those safes when they're open. So one of the regulations is that's maybe not followed as well as it should be is every time that safe is open, it should really be audited. So
Right.
Trying to audit it when you've got hundreds of files of medication in there by hand, it's a non-starter for most people. So they'll put RFID in there to help speed that process. But yeah, it's a really big growing segment. We've been involved with RFID for now about, I want to say about 8-9 years. So we've come a long way with it. And I used to joke with people that I felt like I was pushing a rock up a hill, 8 years ago, because people are like, oh my God, that sounds expensive. That sounds expensive. But now that everybody gets it, it's really taken off. So we do handheld RFID readers for cycle counts, for asset verification, things like that. We do RFID smart shelves. We have RFID fixed readers as well for vehicles or for setting up an asset maintenance station where I tap the asset, it records the record that it was seen and that the maintenance was done. I can go in later and edit that record if it failed the default values. Yeah. So it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned, that, these things come with a cost, but, it is scalable to the application. Where did this, idea come from? Where did what was driving this to have Operative IQ have such an impact in emergency services now, just with the type of, kind of background that people don't even think about. Your general 911 public, they don't think about any of these things. They just want an ambulance, fire truck or law enforcement to show up when they call. So, what drove this?
Yeah, so my partners, when we started and we founded the company, owned an EMS operation at the time. And so the initial ideas came out of there, like, hey, we need something to reduce our inventory. It's out of hand, we're out of space. Everything has a date on it now. We're losing money to expiration. So that's where it started. Where it is today is really the feedback of hundreds of customers over the last 17 years saying, hey, it would be great if you could help us solve this problem. And RFID is part of that equation, right? Somebody says, hey, it'd be great if you guys would take a look at RFID and help us solve a problem with it. And when customers bring us problems, we listen. So customer service is is probably the biggest cornerstone to our business success, is that we actually listen to our customers and we come up with innovative solutions and we deliver on those. So, for us, it's really been about just working closely with the people that, we serve.
Right. And I'm sure that's what sets you apart from other agencies or other applications that might be out there. So what do you have cooking for the future? What does the future of Operative IQ look like?
Yeah, so we've got a conference coming up soon. Maybe we'll mention that later, but that is in November, and we're actually going to show some concepts we have around AI. So we've got three or four concepts. We'll see if all four of them make it to the conference that are going to be integrated into the Operative IQ platform to show how we can use AI in there to do things for them, to make things easier on their implementation or on their reporting. And we get their feedback. We want to see what ideas they have as well. So we think there's a play in AI within the application, especially on the reporting side, which reporting is probably our number one customer support call, right? People don't think in data, right? So they call us to say, hey, I'm trying to build a report, and can you help me? And our guys will sit down and help them build that report or build it for them. But from the AI side, we're going to continue to do things with RFID. So we're going to continue to expand in that area. But in general, I think it's just kind of keeping that focus on the customer that's going to make the biggest change for us and what people should expect from us in the future.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about AI quite a bit on in JEMS and on our podcasts for different applications. So I guess it's not unexpected that AI would make its way into this end of the EMS business as well.
Yeah. It's if you're not looking at it, especially if you're in the software business and you're not looking at it and seeing how it can help your customers or how it can improve your tools, then you're missing the boat, because it is a really, really interesting and powerful tool.
So you mentioned this briefly about your conference in November. What is going on in November with Operative IQ, and what are you guys working on?
Yeah, so Operative IQ, about every 18 months, we host a user conference. It's called Engage. It'll be here in Atlanta in November. And during that time, we really have kind of two tracks that we set up, primary tracks. One for people that want to come in for training, right? They want to come in and learn how to use the application better, or maybe they're very new to the application even. So it's kind of their first exposure to it at any kind of scale. But we've been holding these conferences for a while. We have a lot of veterans, if you will, that they don't need that training. Maybe they're the operation director or something like that, where they're not in as hands-on, but they need to hear where we're going. So we'll talk a lot about the things that we're working on, the things we've delivered since the last conference, and that track for those individuals is much more interactive. It's the product team talking about the things that we're working on, the ideas that we have, but also, asking them, what is it that you want to see from us in the next 18 months? So a lot of the things we've delivered since prior Engage were things that were brought up and discussed at Engage. The biggest one being facility management. So that was brought up at Engage in 2023, and a year later we had it in their hands. So we want to make sure that we're putting tools in their hands, and Engage is a great way for us to all talk together and make sure that we're doing the right things. It's a good place to provide feedback.
Yeah, great. It sounds very interesting. So if I'm a random person listening to the podcast, other than a Google search on Operative IQ, where can I get information? How can I get more information? Product demos, live on scene type interaction.
Yeah, so I always recommend people start with doing a quick needs assessment, right? What tools are you interested in? What problems are you trying to solve? From there, I would say meet with one of our account managers, share that information with them, and let them show you Operative IQ. Let them demo it for you, talk about your issues, show you how we handle those things in the application, so that you pick the right starting point. Most of our customers start with inventory and asset management. They have that need right away to get control of that animal, and most of them will start there. But as they evolve with us, it's connecting with our training team, connecting with our customer service team to make sure that they're getting their needs met, and that they're always taking an iterative process to move that along, if you will. Because as things change, you have new ideas,
right?
And when you have new ideas, call us and tell us what you're trying to do, and we'll help you solve it.
Yeah. Well, from somebody just coming in kind of cold to it. Yes, I know I need help, but I don't know what kind of help I need. Do you have case studies, or can you reference? Yeah, this service actually used this module for this type, and show some return on investment. If I have to explain this to an operations supervisor, or I'm trying to explain this to the mayor or the county council, how can I get some help with that?
Yeah, our team is equipped with tools to provide you to help with that. We also, strangely enough, we implemented a pretty basic AI chatbot on our website. You can ask them some pretty basic questions. Like you could say, "Hey, give me 10 reasons to buy Operative IQ," and it will write it for you. So if you're trying to quickly make a business case for your boss, just go to our website and just start typing in your questions, and it's going to give you responses. Now, they may be 98% accurate, but in my playing with the tools, it's pretty good. It's kind of a fun way to get information if you're just looking. If you want to get information before a conversation, maybe that's a great place to start.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, anything else about Operative IQ that we can bring up in the last couple minutes?
I would just like to say, we're eager to work with folks. We have customers all over North America, Canada. We've got customers outside of the country as well. We have won 5 EMS World Innovation Awards, and we've been on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies 4 times. And I think the thing that really sets us apart more than just our applications is our people. Right. We are very focused on providing good customer service and taking care of the customer. And I honestly believe that's a lost art, and especially a lost art today with software companies that just want to hide behind, an email or a chat bot. So if you have questions, talk to us. We're always here to help.
Well, great. Well, thank you very much again for spending time. I'm sure you're a busy person, working on the aspect of especially introducing the new technology to the pre-hospital environment.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it.